Hello readers, Bianca this side. I'm sharing my story with all of you after reading countless stories of family and in-law drama, and I thought it was about time I followed the footsteps. My husband Callum and I were like a match made in heaven. We first crossed paths at this quiet little bookstore. Fate had it in for us, I guess. Our first date was a quirky movie night, and we laughed so hard that we almost missed half the plot. Those were the moments that cemented our love story. Our wedding was pure magic. The feeling of walking down the aisle towards my one and only, the only love of my life, nothing beats that. Married life with Callum was pretty much balanced. Both of us had our separate careers, so weekdays meant handling work and household chores, but come the weekends, we had our special routine. I was quite the career-driven gal. I had plans. Ambitions, dreams, and all those big words. I had a thriving career as a software engineer. I loved digging into complex problems and writing elegant lines of code. Saturdays and Sundays were designated as exploration days. We would pick a new park, museum, or even just a scenic drive to a nearby town. Those were the days that helped us bond more. Fast forward to 3 years into our marriage, and Callum and I had a bun in the oven. Our son, Hudson. Callum was the picture-perfect husband throughout the whole pregnancy journey, attending birthing classes, humoring my late-night cravings, and all without a single hint of complaint. He was the person I leaned on. And the day Hudson arrived, Callum was right there with me, whispering sweet words of encouragement and holding my hand like there was no tomorrow. When they placed that little squishy baby in my arms, Callum and I both cried tears of joy. Right when I was knee-deep in motherhood, something happened, and by something I mean my mother-in-law, Layla, happened. Those early days with Hudson were chaotic. Callum had to head to the office, and I was left wrangling diapers, sleepless nights, and mountains of baby gear all by myself. Our once neat house became a war zone of toys and baby stuff. I could not tell night from day, and it seemed like I would never get a good night's sleep again. To make things even more interesting, Callum's mom, Layla, must have had a sixth sense for baby visits. She dropped by at least 10 times every week to spend time with her grandson. I do not blame her for that now. When Hudson turned 1 month old, Layla visited. "Oh, my little Hudson, it's already 1 month old. Time flies, doesn't it?" Yes, it really does, but honestly, it has been quite challenging. I am exhausted all the time.
Yeah, Bianca has not had a full night's sleep since he arrived, and I'm often at work.
Honestly, the house is a mess most days. I hardly have time to clean up. It's not just the mess, Lila, it's the exhaustion. The sleepless nights have been brutal.
I remember those days. It can be tough, Callum used to be quite the handful when he was a little baby. Oh, the mischief he would get into. I remember one time he managed to flood the bathroom, and it was like a tiny swimming pool in there. Mom, I was just curious. The water looked so inviting.
Really? That's a new one.
The apple does not fall far from the tree. At least you two will have some entertaining stories to share. Our Hudson is way too young for all this right now anyway. I have an idea. How about I come over and lend you a hand? And your dad can manage just fine for a few months. Louis is more than capable. It will be nice to have you here, Mom, and I'm sure Dad will manage just fine.
All right, if you're up for it, Layla, we would really appreciate the help. I'm just looking forward to getting a few good hours of sleep.
Don't worry, dear. We will get through this.
So, Layla's visit, guys, it was something else. My son Hudson was just a month old, and we thought it was a good idea to have his grandma around. Some extra help and all. But let me tell you, it turned into a bit of a circus. Everything started out all right. Layla loved Hudson, and was heartwarming to see her bonding with her grandson. My father-in-law, Louis, used to visit us every other weekend as well. We thought we were in for some smooth sailing, but man, did things take a turn. She was all like, "I've raised kids, and I know best." And it got kind of annoying real quick. One thing that got me going was the feeding situation. I had my rhythm with Hudson, and he was doing just fine. But Layla thought she was the baby whisperer. She would hang over me while I was feeding him, giving advice, and telling me what I was doing wrong. I appreciated her help, but that drove me crazy. And bath time? Oh boy. I had the warm water, gentle soap, and a loving touch, but Layla? She wanted colder water and faster bath, and it was never-ending commentary, from water temperature to soap quantity. She would insist on her routines, which didn't always work with a newborn. Her well-meaning but bossy ways were getting on my nerves. I was just trying to keep my sanity. Layla was supposed to stay a few months, but it ended up being a whole 6 months. Callum knew how his mother could be, so we decided it was time to say goodbye to her.
Bianca, we need to talk to Mom about this. We appreciate her help, but it has been 6 months. We need to gently tell her that we can manage on our own.
I know, but she's been here for so long. I don't want to hurt her feelings.
I get that, but I have seen how it's been stressing you out. We need to be a family and do this our way.
What are you two whispering about?
Mom, we need to talk to you about heading back home.
Oh? Do you want me to leave? It's not that, Layla. We really appreciate everything you have done, but it has been 6 months, and we think it's time for Hudson to be with just his parents. Also, Lewis must be missing your presence back at home, too.
I see. Do you think I'm getting in the way? No, Mom. Like Bianca said, it's not like that. Bianca's been stressed, but we believe it's time for us to take the reins.
We want to make our own parenting decisions and create our own routines.
I understand. I really do, but I'm just so worried about my little Hudson. How about I stay here for a little more? I promise I'll follow whatever you say, Bianca.
I don't really know about that.
Oh, please, Bianca, it's been 6 months already. Maybe one more. God knows how much time I will have to spend with this little one here.
Callum and I looked at each other. Well, I think you can stay over just a little more, right, Callum?
Okay, Mom, you can stay. Anyway, I'm running late for work, so I gotta go.
Callum rushed out the door. As soon as Callum left, the expressions on Layla's face changed.
Bianca, I know this was all your idea, trying to send me away from my son and grandson.
Layla, come on. That's not true. Callum and I made this decision together because we think it's best for our family.
Oh, I have seen women like you. You want to control everything and push the mother-in-law out.
Layla, it's not about pushing you out.
You are just threatened by me because I've seen what kind of mother you are.
I have done my best to be a good mother to Hudson.
Well, if you think you can do it all on your own, let's see how you handle it. I'm not going anywhere, so I might as well just stay here and give you a little bit of a reality check. Watch your back.
I did not take Layla seriously for her words, but soon enough, Layla transformed into a total mess maker. Our peaceful home was soon littered with dirty dishes, towels in random places, and all sorts of clutter. It was like she had decided to embrace chaos and had zero plans of ever cleaning up her act. But that was not the worst part. Layla's bossiness hit an all-time high, and she began to give me extra chores, as if I didn't have enough on my plate as a new mom. Her demands were making me feel like a personal maid. She used to call me names and make me feel bad every time she got an opportunity. She called me all sorts of things, from a lousy mother to an unattractive wife. Callum just told me to ignore all of it and not take it to heart, but on a serious note, it was taking a toll on my mental health. Callum, we need to talk to your mom. It has been almost 7 months, and I think it's time we consider asking her to leave again.
I have been thinking about it too, Bianca.
Hudson is growing, and I have been missing work. You know how important my career is to me, especially now with an eye on our family's future?
I know, Bianca. We both need to be working to secure a better future for Hudson.
Honey, I think it's time to consider hiring a full-time nanny. It would provide stability for Hudson and allow us to regain control over our lives.
That's a good idea, Bianca. We can start interviewing nannies soon. It will help us provide a better routine for Hudson.
Thank you, babe. I was worried you might think I'm pushing Layla away.
Well, my mom, you know everything about her. Her past as well, and I obviously get why you would not want her around Hudson. We will talk to her this weekend.
It was just another ordinary day, and I had hoped to find some peace while Callum was at the office. I decided to go check on Hudson, who was peacefully napping in his crib. But as I entered the nursery, my heart sank. "Come on, little baby." Tried to say Gammy, Gammy. "Your mom is bad. Mom is bad." "You don't want Mom. We don't want Mom." "Layla, what are you whispering into our son's ear? Get out of our house now." "What are you doing here? You were supposed to be sleeping right now. You are poisoning my child's mind. Get out." Layla didn't say a word, packed her bags, and called herself a taxi. Her behavior that day had been shocking, and it wasn't the last of it. Callum and I were furious. We felt betrayed and could not believe what she had done. For the following months, we decided to cut all contact with Layla. It was not an easy decision, but it was necessary for our sanity and the well-being of our family. We had our nanny taking care of Hudson, and I returned to work. Life went on, and it was peaceful without the constant tension and interference. Layla did try to apologize several times, sending us messages and even showing up at our doorstep, but we ignored her completely. However, as Hudson's first birthday approached, we thought maybe, just maybe, we should give her another chance. I mean, it was our son's first birthday. The party was set up in our backyard with tents, decorations, and all the work. We invited our parents, other family members, and friends. Callum and I were there, trying to make sure everything was perfect for Hudson's first birthday. At first, Layla seemed quite normal. She caught up with the guests and exchanged pleasantries, and everything seemed to be going well. It felt almost surreal to see her acting this way after what had happened between us. As the party went on, Layla started gathering everyone's attention. I could not help but feel a knot of anxiety forming in my stomach. Her sudden announcement made my heart race. "Hey everyone, thanks for coming to celebrate Hudson's first birthday. It feels like just yesterday when I was getting my grandma's game on and trying not to mess up everything. Hudson is one lucky guy, I have to say. I want to thank you all for being here for him today, but let us talk about his mom, shall we? Someone who needs to be there for him every day. I had my doubts when I heard about Bianca going back to work just when Hudson was, 8 months old? I mean, who in their right mind would do that? The thing is, I figured that being there for your child is a no-brainer. I mean, those early years are crucial, right? And then you look at her, choosing her career over moments she could never get back. We live in a world where a lot of moms prioritize their own ambitions over their kids. I guess we are just adding Bianca to that club, aren't we? I hope, Bianca, that you don't forget your priorities in the future. I just want what's best for Hudson. Like any decent grandma would. Nobody deserves a mom like you, but let us hope you've got something up your sleeve to make up for it. And if anyone needs a lesson in how not to parent, well, you know where to look." So, there I was, standing in front of everyone, tears rolling down my cheeks. It felt like Layla's word had slapped me right across the face. My heart was heavy, and all I wanted was for this nightmare to end. But you know what they say about crying in front of a crowd? It's not the best look. So Louis, the hero of the day, stepped in and took Layla back home. He knew things were getting out of hand. Callum and I, well, we were furious. Angry at her for ruining our son's first birthday, for making a scene, and for hurting me. We needed time to cool off and get our heads together. Honestly, Layla's behavior had me fuming. I could not let her get away with it. I mean, how could she accuse me without even looking at her own past? That's what got me thinking about a family secret, though it's more like a hidden truth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me get to the most exciting part of the story, Layla's history. Layla was on her second marriage, and not many people knew about that. In her first marriage, she had a son named Larry. Her first husband passed away, and I don't know the reason behind it, but when she fell in love with Louis, Callum's dad, she faced a tough choice. She did not want her past to ruin her future, so she decided to leave Larry up for adoption. She was quite young, and it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. And Larry, well, he was only 2 years old, so after doing the deed, she married Louis, and then she had Callum. Louis was aware of her first marriage, but not her child. The real shocker is that Larry came back into Layla's life when he was around 21. Callum was in high school and he had just gotten home when he ran into Larry. Layla gave Larry some money to disappear and promised to never return so Lewis would never find out about her first son. Callum was stuck between a rock and a hard place because Layla begged him not to spill the beans to Lewis. So Callum did what Layla asked her to do, but he also secretly kept in touch with Larry. And Layla didn't have a clue about it. Callum had obviously confided in me about this after we had been together for a while. I felt for him, holding on to such a heavy secret for who knows how many years, all to protect his parents' marriage. But when I decided I wanted to reveal this truth, I wasn't entirely sure if I was doing the right thing. It was an enormous revelation and it had far-reach consequences for everyone involved. I needed to make sure that Callum was on board with my decision. Callum, we don't have to do this in front of everyone, but look at Layla. She is acting all nice like a saint, worrying about my kid when she herself abandoned hers. Don't you think your dad deserves to know?
I have thought about it a lot, but now that I'm a father myself, I think he does. But we need to consider who else's lives will be affected by this decision.
You're right.
Dad will be getting the truth, and Mom will be facing the consequences. They will catch up to her eventually.
And what about Larry?
It won't affect him in any significant way. Dad is not like that. Larry is a grown man with a family of his own. This is not going to affect his life at all.
So it's settled then. We will talk to your dad, let him know the truth, and let the chips fall where they may. Why don't you talk to Larry about this?
Okay, I will try to set up a date.
So there we were, setting up this big, monumentous dinner with Larry, Lewis, and Layla. It was like planning for a major family reunion, but with a twist. We knew the revelation would bring shockwaves, and we had no idea how everyone would react. Callum and I were excited about the prospect of finally sharing the truth, but we also felt a heavy burden of responsibility. Callum had a heart-to-heart with Larry and told him how much of a pain Layla had been. Larry said he was all in, so I called Lewis up to invite him to dinner. Hi, Lewis. It's been a while. How are you?
Hello, Bianca. I'm doing well, thank you. How's everything on your end?
Well, Lewis, there's something important I would like to discuss. It's a bit of a family matter, and I want you to be prepared. Layla's involved, so you know it's bound to be quite a story. I would like you to keep this a secret for now. Don't mention anything to Layla just yet.
Now you've got me curious. What's going on?
Tomorrow, we are having a dinner at our place around 7 in the evening. There's something we need to talk about, and I think it's best to discuss it in person.
All right, Bianca. I will be there tomorrow, and I'll keep it under wraps for now.
Thanks, Lewis. The next day had finally come. Lewis and Layla were already at our place, seated in the living room. The air was thick with anticipation, and I could not help but feel a little bit of anxiety. It was hard to pretend everything was okay when a major drama was about to go down soon. I had instructed the nanny to take care of Hudson in his nursery, not wanting him to be a part of what could turn out to be a family storm. A few minutes later, Larry walked into the living room along with Callum. Layla's face went pale as she saw Larry.
What is he doing here?
Well, it's time.
What? You know about this as well? How could you, Callum? Mom, you could not have expected me to die with this. I need to know what's happening.
This is Larry. Larry, meet Lewis, Callum's father.
Larry?
Yeah, I am Larry. Layla's son from her first marriage.
Wait. What? Layla? Is this true?
I am sorry, Lewis. I didn't tell you.
Wait. What is happening? Someone needs to explain.
Larry is Layla's son from her first marriage. She left him at a foster system before marrying you. Nothing new. I knew her real intentions when she sent me home with money, thinking she could pay me to erase her mistakes.
How could you, Layla? And you, Callum? You knew about this? I'm sorry, Dad. When I was in high school, Larry tracked down Mom and wanted to connect with her. She told him to go away and paid him. She told me not to tell you. Son, you should have told me. I wanted to feel young again, Louis, to start anew with our marriage, without the burden of a child from my previous marriage. A child is a big responsibility, you know that. I know it sounds selfish, but that's how I felt back then. How could you say that in front of Larry right now? How could you abandon him like that? We could have taken care of him together. Dad, I tried to keep the peace. I thought you might never forgive Mom. Yeah, I get it. It's not your fault. And Layla, then you asked Callum to keep a secret as big as this when he was just a kid? I can't believe I married a woman like you. Honey, don't get mad. It wasn't fair to Larry. He deserved to know us. I have missed out on so much, I would say. Growing up in foster care was not easy. We are here for you now, Larry. It is never too late to start over. I'm so sorry for what I did. I didn't know how to handle it back then. My greed got the worst of me. Layla, we will discuss this when we get home. Layla, you had no right to criticize me for my parenting when you abandoned your own child. You tell me that no one deserves a mother like me? Well, guess what? No one deserves a mother who abandons her own child as you did. It's easy to point fingers at me, but you should be looking at your own actions and how they've hurt people. Layla was left all embarrassed and she couldn't face anyone in the room. There was nothing left to say. The meeting broke up and everyone headed home. And that was the ending of our family drama. Louis is taking some time apart from Layla, trying to figure out what he wants for his future. He is inclining towards a divorce, but he isn't sure yet. On the brighter side, just last weekend, Callum, Larry, and Louis decided to grab some drinks together. It was a pleasant surprise to see them bond as fathers and sons. As for Layla, well, she got her share of lessons. She tried to make amends, but we are maintaining our distance from her. Not only did I find a way of getting my revenge on Layla, but I also achieved some sense of justice for both Louis and Larry, and I'm proud of that.